What's going on, Ditch Crew? This is Jordan, Jacob, and Ted with another DitchCast. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing.
I'm doing okay. Lost
Awesome.
power for a little bit. It was storming here at the house. It was very interesting.
Oh, yeah, that is true, guys. If there's any kind of quality issues, we'll go ahead and apologize. Ted is having a lot of storms in his area, but we wanted to make sure we didn't miss out on a podcast Tuesday here. Which will probably from now on be called DitchCast. We thought that was a pretty cool name, so look out for that versus Podcast Tuesday or Podcast Thursday.
Hmm.
So today on the agenda, we've all kind of been talking in our free time about the KFC console. Now, some of you may or may not have heard about that. It was initially a joke. However, apparently in 2020, I believe it was 2020. Ted, go ahead and double check me on that. KFC and Cooler Master confirmed that it is actually going to be a live product that will have a drawer to keep your chicken warm or to warm it up. I'm not sure on the specifics of that, but so we're going to kind of discuss that and kind of the implications of a fast food restaurant creating this tech and what it could lead to in the future. So, all right, Tellin, what do you got for us? What kind of specifics do you got on it?
So yeah, the console was officially announced in December of 2020 after a previous joke post through KFC. There was a big uproar about it and everything, so I'm guessing that they just finally decided to go ahead and make it official. Um, they partnered with Cooler Master to make the console. They've designed it and everything. It sits in a let me see if I can't find the daggone chassis here. Um,
The chassis honestly looks like an air fryer. That's kind of what it
yeah,
reminds
it
me of, at
yeah,
least. And I'm
hundred
assuming
percent.
now it doesn't give again. There's not very many specifics. The real specifics that we have found are that you'll be able to interchange the GPU, um, and that straight out the gate, it's supposed to play current titles at 4K 240 FPS. What kind of price tag is this going to have? We have seen prices all over the board. So at one point, I think we found, and Jacob, you and I were in a call when we found that it was, I believe, somewhere around $400, $700, and then I think we even found one for like $2,400. Or kind of the
Yep.
prices are all over the board. So we have no idea what it's going to cost. With
Yeah, it's with the the housing and everything, the chassis that I was talking about earlier and stuff. It's a custom housing made by Cooler Master called the NC 100. And in it, and this is what the interesting part that I found out about it is that with the specific uh Intel compute thing that they're using, it's called the Intel NUC 9 Extreme Compute Element. With that, and this is where it gets interesting. That is what warms your chicken. As it's sitting in the basket in the top part of the thing, the heat, the residual heat that comes off of this uh all-in-one package essentially goes up through tubes and everything to keep your chicken warm. So whilst you're playing games on this, it's actively keeping your chicken warm for you.
That's what I was actually going to say. We don't have very many specifics. We have a little bit of information, but I assume that the actual components thermals are what's going to be keeping the food warm. Because if anyone knows anything about a 3080 or 3090, the 4070s, 4080s, 4090s, etc., they are hot. They are very hot. Which brings me, we actually found information out yesterday or today, just a little bit regarding the 4070 and the 4080. There was a couple leaks talking about their time spy numbers. Apparently, the 4080 is going to do 15,000 on time spy, and the
Mm.
4070 will do 10,000. So the 4080 is a few notches above the 3090 Ti, and the 4070, Jesus, is, if I remember correctly, the numbers are like 60 times the its predecessor of the 3070. So if they stay within the same price bracket, we're bound to see some pretty extreme changes. Now, that's not even talking about the Intel Arc cards either, which are supposed to be up to par with 3080s at a fraction of the cost. So I'll be excited to see those. But back to the point at hand is these weird tech trends that are going on. You know, this if this KFC console comes to a real consumer market and it's not just I think Tedlin is kind of estimating that there's probably only going to be a handful of them actually made. Now, if that is the case, then chances are we're probably not going to get our hands on one. But if it's an actual consumer market, I would not be opposed to checking one out. Obviously, depending on the price is right. If I'm not going to spend, you know, 2 grand on an air fryer with a CPU and GPU in it, I would
See, that's the
much
difference between
rather.
you and me.
What'd you say?
That's the difference between you and me. If I don't care about the price point, like I need to know. You know what I mean?
I get it, but for me, like, if I'm gonna spend 2 grand, it's gonna be on like 3090 Ti, the full
Yeah.
computer, stuff like that. Like something much more powerful than a chicken maker. Not to say that I don't like the idea. I mean, it's hilarious, but depending on the price point will really tell me whether or not it's interesting enough for me to actually pursue, you know?
Yeah. I mean, see, for me, it comes down to the fact it's less about, oh, it can make your chicken, and it's more about the fact that, I mean, this is the first console we've ever had on the market that can hot swap a graphics card. Like,
Yeah, but do we really want to call it a console though? I mean,
I
realistically, it's
I
not a
absolutely would.
console. It's just a really mini ATX, ITX, whatever. It's a small form factor PC with a chicken cooker, a heater, whatever. So I mean, I don't know what makes it a quote unquote console. Is it going to have a controller? Is it going to have like what kind of peripherals are we talking? Are we talking mouse and keyboard? Are we talking controllers? Is it going to have its own UI or is it going to run off of Windows? Like these are things that I really want answers to, but unfortunately I don't think we're going to get any of these answers until it really releases, you know?
I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like they're gonna be, using controllers and whatnot because they do call it a console. It is the KF console. That's like their whole shtick.
Right.
So, I
That
mean, I
could
would
also
imagine
just
it would
sound
have a
better
controller.
than the KFC PC though.
That's true, but I don't know. For me, like one of the big questions I have that doesn't really matter too much is how hot does this get? And also
Well,
what kind of food can you put in it? Like, are we talking this is just gonna warm up a bucket of chicken, or are we talking like I can cook pizza rolls inside of this thing while
I
I'm,
don't
you
think
know what I
I don't
mean?
yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll get that hot and everything because, like I said before and everything, it's just it's a glorified warmer and everything because all they say that it's going to be able to do and everything is just be able to keep your chicken warm while you play.
Right, right, right,
but
right.
with that being said though, some components, again, 3080s, 3090s, 4070, 8090s, they are hot. And
Hmm.
again, I assumed from the beginning that the whole point was to use the temperature and the thermals from the components to actually quote unquote warm or cook something in the little drawer. Now, granted, the drawer looks, if you look at the pictures on the Cooler Master website, the drawer looks only big enough to hold like 3 chicken tenders,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
doesn't look
It's
very
not
deep.
massive.
Yeah.
So, but if the thermals are right below it, it probably won't cook pizza rolls quickly, but the chances are, and they might. be kind of,
Plasticky.
well, I don't know, the texture might be a little off, but it probably could heat it up over time enough to be quote unquote edible and not frozen. It is possible, I suppose. But here's the next question. What is going to be protecting your GPU from
That's what I was wondering.
chicken
Yep.
crumbs?
Yep.
Who I
So
mean,
so there is an actual tray that'll go in that drawer,
yeah.
uh, and everything. There was a picture of it somewhere. Yeah, there's an actual like tray, like a plastic. Well, I don't know if it'd be plastic, but like there's an actual tray that'll sit there to, I'm guessing, collect the crumbs, almost like how your toaster has that little
Uh-huh.
tray at the bottom of it and everything that you'll pull out to get all the breadcrumbs out of your toaster.
But in some way it'll have to be able to move the heat from the internals up into that drawer enough to actually heat and or warm or cook or whatever we're gonna say. We'll just say warm for now
Mm.
to keep your chicken warm. So there's gonna be some kind of a hole somewhere, you know? There's gotta be.
Right.
Unless
Well,
it's
yeah,
literally
there's.
just, I guess unless they use something like copper or aluminum underneath the bottom of the tray and the thermal, which I guess is possible. It could work that way. Something that has a good heat dispersion that'll be at the bottom of the tray and heat it up from there, which that would be probably the way that it's done and a lot smarter than whatever is in my head. But one of the things that we've been talking about is if KFC is going to make a console, a PC, whatever they're branding it, who's to stop McDonald's, Taco Bell, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Jack in the Box? Who's to stop them from creating cell phones, creating, um, really, I guess that's laptops, a Taco Bell themed laptop, and it every time you log on, it gives you the bell icon and welcome to the fourth meal or something like
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean,
Something Taco Bell-ish.
Xbox. Yeah, well, I mean, Xbox. We can bring gaming, companies into this too and everything because Xbox came out and pulled the meme and made it real to for the Xbox mini fridge and
That
everything. They
is
did
true.
that. I mean, PlayStation, which I mean, I doubt PlayStation does it, but PlayStation can come out with something like that, or
Well,
Nintendo, or stuff like that.
well, Sony's already had its hand in anything tech related though, from
Yep.
Jesus
Yeah,
for a long time. So realistically speaking, I wasn't gonna bring Sony into it because Sony has phones. They had computers at one point, I believe. I'd have to relook into that, but I believe Sony made a laptop at one point.
yeah, they
Um,
did.
they had a concept for an electric vehicle, which they might still be producing. I don't remember, but Sony's already had their hands in most tech. Now,
Right.
Mm.
Microsoft also has had their hands in a bunch of tech, and I believe, quote me if I'm wrong here, Tedlin, and we might have to look it up. I believe there was a Mountain Dew themed original Xbox, and it was
I
like
believe
Yep.
so.
like
Yeah,
dirty
there was.
bright green, like Mountain Dew colored. I believe
Yeah.
that existed.
So I mean, I want to steer the conversation a little bit away from the actual tech companies because the way I see it, you've got all these different fast food markets out here, especially fast food companies,
Oh, yeah,
looking into tech stuff. You've got you've got fast food companies making self-driving cars. You've got fast food companies automating the entire interior of their store.
yeah,
You have these fast food companies looking into various tech options. And I guarantee you, like to bring up an earlier point, we were talking about how many of these KFC will make. I think they're going to make as many as will sell.
that's true.
I don't think they're going to pump them all out at the same time. But as long as they're being sold, KFC is going to keep making them.
Yeah,
And
but I
because
mean that. that goes to the price point of the internals of this computer console, whatever you want to call it, and everything. Because I mean, the card alone that holds the CPU is
Yeah,
a upwards of $2,000 card. Plus, you have to think about what graphics card are they going to put into it, stuff
Yeah,
like that and everything. What peripherals are we going to be able to get with it?
yeah.
um Stuff like that and everything.
I would
So I mean,
So,
assume they're
it
going to put
could
some form
be.
of an 80 series card in it, honestly.
Well,
If they're
yeah.
claiming 4K at 240.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
With Go ahead.
it, I think it's like I said. I think as long as people have the money to buy it, they're going to keep buying it. But I mean, my further point was just that other companies are going to be watching this, you know, and if this is successful, like if this takes off, then I guarantee you we're going to start seeing other fast food companies dipping their hands into the tech pool a little further.
And I don't disagree with that. And next, that brings another point. I don't even know if it's necessarily going to be KFC that is selling it. I would honestly, it's more probable that Cooler Master is going to be the one manufacturing and selling it, and it's just
Yeah,
got the KFC name on it. So, with
That's
that being
exactly what it
said,
is.
there's probably going to be more than just like 20 of them made. If Cooler Master is going to start pumping them out, they're probably going to pump out, I mean, a few hundred of them if they did a limited run.
yeah.
Now, kind of what Jacob said, it probably is possible that they'll pump out a limited run, see how they sell. If they sell good enough, they'll do another limited run, et cetera, and so on and so forth, until the market just dies on it. Honestly,
Yeah,
And that's an unfortunate thing with tech today and stuff, because with scalpers the way that they are and everything, anytime something new drops, and we saw this with the PlayStation, we saw this with the Xbox, with the 30 series cards, stuff like that. Scalpers come in, buy as many of them as they can, and then sell them for 10 times what they're actually worth.
yeah, a
So
lot of a
that
lot of that
this
issue though.
console,
Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
this console and everything, would will most likely fall under that and stuff, where they'll make 15, 15, 20, 50 of them. Then scalpers will come in, they'll buy five a piece, and there won't be any left for the open market.
A
but
lot of what I was going to say, a
it's
lot of the issues though with that was honestly COVID though. With COVID, a lot of the chip plants weren't producing. So your PlayStations, your Xboxes, and a lot of like the new GPUs, they weren't able to produce enough of them at that time to feed the market. So, and when it
yeah,
came to the GPUs, there was a huge mining boom at that moment, which,
yeah,
if I remember correctly, I believe that mining boom has really slowed down. There are a lot of um, low-priced used GPUs right now on like eBay. They're old mining cards. Now you can pick one up, and it'll last you probably a little while, but I wouldn't expect a mining card to last long. Everybody, if anybody knows anything about mining, they are put under heavy load, heavy power for well non-stop really. They don't really get turned off. If they get turned off, then the people aren't making their money. So
yeah.
it is a good chance that when these 40 series cards, the art card, the KFC thing, when those actually drop, we're not so much in this huge like tech lull right now where chips just aren't being manufactured. There are, but I mean, obviously it's not as fast as it was pre-COVID or anything like that. But I think we will hopefully see better quantities of products moving forward than back in 2020. Now, I
Yeah,
can't
The way I
guarantee
see
that.
the way I see the scalper argument is it comes down to like the same thing I was saying earlier. If scalpers are buying the consoles, somebody's buying the consoles. It still inflates the market, you know,
That's true.
which means that likely they're going to continue to be made. If scalpers are buying them out off the shelf like crazy, KFC is going to look at that and go, "Oh, we're making profit. Let's make more."
Right.
PlayStation. Well, I mean, that's a perfect example and everything. PlayStation did the opposite of that. Whenever the PlayStation 5s were getting scalped for, thousands of dollars and everything, PlayStation stopped production of the PlayStation 5 until they figured out a way to be able to make the console for cheaper and pump more of them out. And now that
Right.
they've figured that out and everything, they're starting to pump more out. My local Walmart gets in a shipment of PlayStation 5s every couple of weeks or so, and then again they're sold, within a day or two and everything, just because they're finally available for the public.
Yeah. Kind of that
Right.
catch up market now.
Yeah, but until these companies who have done that, who have cut costs to get their stuff out to the public and everything, until they get that inventory done and gone with and everything, we're going to be getting lesser pieces of equipment, and it's going to screw a lot of people, over.
So the question I have to ask was that is you're absolutely correct. That was Sony's approach, but that was Sony with the PlayStation 5, one of the most sought after consoles on the market today.
Hmm.
KFC is making something that, I mean, let's be honest, they're probably not expecting to take off. You know,
Mm,
I mean, if I
I
was
don't.
KFC and people are buying my console, I'm just gonna keep making the console, because you're not gonna have an insane demand for it where you have negative PR reviews out the wazoo because you're getting scalpers buying your crap because there's not enough people looking for it.
What
I think the
could
people
be,
who want the console on the market today either have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series S.
which could be the opposite though too. KFC could very well be thinking exactly how everybody else is. They're thinking that it's going to sell because of the novelty,
Yeah,
you know, because it is the first quote unquote fast food branded system with again a quote unquote food warmer, heater, whatever. So it
mm,
could be that they're entirely banking on the novelty for this system to sell.
they could also just be banking on the fact that if it is a true console, it's going to be the best one on the market. You can't beat a swappable GPU,
And that's
you know.
absolutely true. No, that's absolutely true. And it does say that it's going to have, I say memory storage, expansion, and
Yeah.
upgradability or
and
swappability. So again, that makes it
well,
more of a PC than a console.
I
yeah,
mean,
I mean
but
it 100% is.
but I mean, does it though? Because let's let's
Yes.
let's talk about that. It's only a matter of time before Sony and Xbox start giving their consoles swappable crap.
Well, PC or at least PlayStation, you can already, even the PlayStation 4, you can add an internal SSD,
Exactly.
and with the PlayStation 5, it's only better. So you do have me there. That is true. That's a good point.
Like, I mean, technology is constantly advancing, especially in the gaming world. If we're talking about what makes a PC, we can't just sit here and say, oh, because it has swappable parts. I
It's
mean,
true.
you could swap out parts in an Xbox 360 if you knew what you were doing. Was it
That's yeah.
hard? Yeah, but you could do it, you know?
I think we can agree that what would make it a PC versus a console is going to be the peripherals.
Agreed.
If you use mouse and keyboard with it, it's a PC. No ifs ands about that. If it comes with with a controller and it has its own UI, then I think we can call it more of a console. But if it's running
Right.
Windows and it looks
If
like
yeah,
my
of course.
laptop does, then that's a PC.
But I mean, at the same point, like, I definitely agree with the Windows side of it, but you also have to remember you can run mouse and keyboard on a PlayStation 4.
Yes, but I'm talking about more. But a PlayStation 4 is a console because
It's
initially
got the UI, right? It's
it,
not running Windows.
and it comes with and is meant to be played with a controller. Can you
Yeah,
switch it? Yes, but it is meant to be played and intended to be used with a controller. That's more what I'm talking about. Not the capability of, but the intention of. Is it intended to be used with a controller or is it intended to be used with mouse and keyboard?
yeah, and I mean, them calling it a console, I have no doubts that they're going to be, probably making a UI, making it run by a controller, because that's what they're marketing it as. If
Right.
you're
Or
selling it,
again, it
if
could
you're
just
selling
sound
somebody,
better.
that is true. But I mean, if you're selling somebody a console, they turn it on and they open Windows.
That's true.
It's
And
not
their whole marketing PR is that they're trying to make a better console than
exactly.
the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series.
exactly.
So you've
So I
got
mean,
that is absolutely true, and I'm with you on that. I just then it brings me to what is a KFC branded UI going to look like?
you're gonna open it, you're gonna see Colonel Sanders surrounded by a red screen as the startup menu. I guarantee
I
you.
mean, absolutely. Or it'll be a black screen and it'll have Colonel Sanders in a red circle with his white head, and because the whole thing is like black with red accents, so it kind of makes sense if they did the log on screen to be black with red and white accents.
That is true, yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, I I really have so much hope to see what kind of a UI that is. That
I, I have I have so much hope to see what other fast food companies come up with. If this takes off, I want to see Taco Bell try to make a phone, and I also want to see companies just spectacularly fail at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to see them fail, but I think a Taco Bell branded phone or like a McDonald's laptop would be hilarious. A
Yeah.
McDonald's laptop running Ubuntu reskinned to look like the M at the bottom of the screen instead of like your Ubuntu or your Windows button down at the bottom. Like
Oh, absolutely.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I can just imagine, their first somebody, whoever's going to make the first attempt at making a phone, if they do, is probably going to end in disaster. I mean, let's be honest. It normally does.
I mean, it depends though. I mean, KFC was smart enough to go with a good company. I mean, Cooler Master's been in business for years to
That's
make
true.
great
That is
products.
true.
Now, granted, if I was going to choose like a Cooler Master CPU cooler over like Noctua, it wouldn't happen. I would choose Noctua every day, all day. But that's a personal preference. But
So I guess
again, it's a big player. If McDonald's or Taco Bell like partnered with Samsung or LG or
LG
one of the
don't make
big
phones
player,
anymore, or
but
no, LG
but
does.
but they did
Or
is
do
what I'm
they?
saying.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I wouldn't want to see is why if Taco Bell did it, the chances are they would go with like an iPhone. Again, kind of like what we talked about. Taco Bell seems like they're the ones who are trying to stay more, and I'm going to show my age here when I say this, more hip and more like
Yep.
with the times, you know?
Agreed.
They're
So
always trying to appeal to that younger today crowd.
my next question then is if we see Taco Bell make a phone and you buy a Taco Bell phone and you then download the Taco Bell app, do you get special deals on your orders from
I would
Taco
be
Bell?
furious if you didn't. If you didn't get like a Taco 12 pack per month for free for having a Taco Bell phone, I would be furious. That would just be a scam in my book.
So then I mean at that point we have to lead the conversation into the world of marketing now, you know? Because if fast food companies are going to sit here and start marketing these kind of products towards people, then it would stand to assume that your tech choices are going to at least in part be influenced by the kind of fast food that you consume on a regular basis.
No,
And
that's true.
that completely changes the entire tech landscape. Like imagine if Sony and Xbox didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Sony and Xbox don't exist. You got nothing but fast food companies making your consoles. You no longer have an Xbox versus PlayStation war. You got a McDonald's versus Taco Bell war, or McDonald's versus Burger King.
Oh,
Which place do you like to eat at
Jesus.
better because you get discounts depending on what console you've purchased?
Oh, I hate every bit. This is truly, and we talked about this. If this were to happen, this is truly moving into the movie Idiocracy, where you have
Yes,
like Carl's Jr. thanks you for your fate or whatever, and then Carl's Jr. notices that you're a bad mother. Carl's Jr. will now take your kids. Like that's what I
right,
feel like we would be moving into.
right. And I mean that's kind of the direction I was hoping this conversation would take us because like
God, we're
this is
already
this
moving in
is
that direction though. Not necessarily
yeah,
with the fast food and the Carl's Jr., but you already know how I feel about like the state of our country and the world, and I feel like we are so dumb now. Like there, we went for a period where we were advancing so hard, and now we have a KFC console instead of pushing more advancements. Now, again, I think I love tech, and I think tech is wonderful, and I love everything about these conversations, but I just feel like we're pushing ourselves into the movie Idiocracy. And if you haven't seen it, guys, please, for the love of God, go watch the movie Idiocracy. It is,
Hmm.
first of all, it's hilarious. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a comedy, but it also kind of makes you think about where we're going if we
Right.
don't put down TikTok or get off Facebook or quit tweeting and really get ourselves and get our children off of those things to where our children are no longer losing IQ daily.
So I mean, it's one of those things where, and we've had this conversation before. Technology will always be driven by leisure,
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
and currently society is in such. So it's also a question of the culture of the country because you look at. I shouldn't say technology is driven by leisure. I should say technology is driven by convenience, which in a lot
Yeah.
of cases, especially in America, is the same thing.
That's true.
Where
Yeah.
which is why America is kind of on the downhill. But if you go to a country like Dubai, right? Convenience in Dubai means easier access to business deals, easier, you know what I mean? They have a much more lucrative economy, much more, you understand what I'm saying. So their technology advancements are going to be driven towards that because that's what people are looking for. People aren't looking for that here.
No. We're looking to be quote unquote entertained here
Right.
while
Which is
we
why Dubai
veg
is on the
out.
upswing. Yeah.
Well,
So
not even
Dubai
just
is,
that, but it's already been proven. If anybody looks at like TikTok, just TikTok comes, it's a Chinese company, right? And if you
mhm,
look at what they provide their citizens on TikTok, the kind of content that they allow versus what they put out here it's entirely different. They put out more like math and science and experiments and very intelligent quote unquote videos and TikToks versus here it's idiots dancing 24/7. Where they are absolutely smart in the regards of keeping us dumb and keeping their citizens smarter. And I hate saying it, but that is the way that they're doing it.
right. So,
But
Ted, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts?
yeah.
Wendy's has a smartphone.
What?
Are you serious?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Since when? What year?
Uh, 2021.
I hate everything right now. I hate. I hate it all. Coke, give us the information.
It's got a rear triple camera, 6.4 HD plus screen, rear fingerprint sensor. Unfortunately, the only way to get one is to win it through a contest. Through Wendy's Canada on Twitter. You have to essentially order from the Wendy's app and everything, and then screenshot it, post it to Twitter, tagging Wendy's Canada, saying, "Hey Wendy's, give me a hashtag Wendy's phone, and then add that hashtag contest to it and everything, and then if they deem you worthy of one, they'll give you a smartphone. But
What
Wendy's has a smartphone.
what was it? Apple? Is it Android? What is it?
It's their
Pictures?
own. I mean, I'm sure it's Android
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it'd
would
have
and
to
imagine.
be
everything.
Android. It'd have to be. But are there pictures of it?
I mean, yeah, if you go to the Wendy's, the heywendy's.ca website and everything, it's pulled up.
What does it look like?
I mean, it looks
It.
like a Galaxy S21.
I'm
So
grabbing my
maybe
phone.
they partnered with Samsung.
Hold on a second. What did you say? You said hey Wendy's.ca?
Yeah,
So I mean, if they're sending
That
it out
is
through a
not.
contest, I almost wonder if if maybe they're doing that specifically to where I don't know if this makes sense, but they're doing it specifically to where they're trying to gauge
Oh wow.
consumer reactions to their product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not spending a bunch of money selling phones that people hate, but they're kind of slowly pushing them out to the market, seeing if people like them, and then maybe deciding, hey, we want to start selling phones. Like that could be the next step. You know?
Hmm.
God, that
Well, yeah,
is
that
crazy.
would definitely be an interesting thing for fast food companies and stuff in general to release. Like, I mean, yeah, we have apps and stuff where like we can, get discounts through that and all that kind of stuff and everything. But like to have a phone from your favorite restaurant to be able to like save an order and then just click a button and everything and have it delivered or ready for pickup and everything would be awesome.
Oh, just to go back to this real quick, it is a reskinned Galaxy A11, and
Yeah.
instead of like "Hey Bixby" or "Hey Google," it responds to my phone, of course. It responds to "Hey Wendy" as its wake word. I hate and love everything about this. I don't know how I feel, but you know what? This is just the beginning. We're not done with this weird tech related type stuff.
Yeah.
At this point, it would not shock me if, again, like we talked about earlier, if McDonald's or Taco Bell starts to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
and then we also have to think about, and I think Jacob had brought this up earlier, um, but self automation for
mhm.
restaurants and everything.
Yeah,
You go in there, you stand in front of a screen, put your order in and stuff, and then it's almost like, um, uh, what's the name of the restaurant, Ted? Um, Krispy Kreme, where you get to watch your, order, go
yeah,
down the line and be made and everything, and then it gets, put into your bag and everything, and then shot out at you and everything. That that would be an interesting thing, which I think Taco Bell even recently, well, I don't want to say recently because I think it's been going on for like a year or so now,
it's still
has
pretty
done pretty much
recent.
that where it's their only, I think it's like it's only drive-through restaurant that is essentially fully automated.
I
Um,
don't know if it's
I mean,
fully
the
automated. I think
people,
it's
yeah,
mostly
the people
automated.
still mostly automated. Yeah, the people
Yeah,
still make the food and everything, but like it gets prepared and put in the bags and everything, and then sent to you through a maze of conveyor belts and
yeah.
draw lines and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we did talk about that not long ago, just a few weeks ago. But I believe, if I'm correct, the restaurant is in Ohio, no, Oklahoma, I think is where that Taco Bell is, that has
Yeah.
the almost fully automated setup going on. But even just moving away from just the restaurant itself, we just a few minutes ago we were talking about Domino's and their, I believe it's in Houston, Texas, their self-driving autonomous car. You know, it
Hmm.
pulls up to your house. It's got like warmers in the back of it. Domino's sends you a code. You put the pin in, and it opens up the door for you to grab your pizza out.
Yeah, well, I mean, college campuses, large college campuses and everything already have stuff like that, and I think they were made through DoorDash or something or other. I don't exactly know, but they're little automated, and I mean, I don't want to say car, but it's a little automated RC car, um, where the food or the order and everything is put into the like uh the middle of it and everything, and it keeps it cold or keeps it warm and stuff, and it's delivered to your dorm. Um, they've had issues with them though about driving off of the sidewalks and getting stuck and all this, that, and the other, and everything. Unfortunately, that's not really something that you can fix.
Right.
Um, but like, I mean, college campuses have stuff like that, and then, which I mean, going back to Domino's and stuff, Domino's have had the uh warmers in the back of their delivery vehicles for a while
For a
now.
few years now,
Um,
yeah.
it may not, I mean, there's, they're not self-driving cars and everything, but they're cars specifically made for Domino's delivery.
Yeah. And kind of to piggyback off the dorm stuff, I believe now this could be just an internet video. We all know that you got to take what's on the internet with a grain of salt. But I did see recently it was like a Walmart that was basically launching small, lighter deliveries with not necessarily drones. They almost looked like,
UAVs.
yeah, like the remote controlled airplanes, the hobby airplanes, but it was basically a drone, and then
Yeah.
it would parachute your package down into your yard or wherever it goes to. And
Mm.
Amazon, I don't know if they ever actually did it or if it was just an idea, but there was talk for a long time of Amazon using drones to deliver packages. I don't know if that ever came into fruition or not, but that was big. That was a huge talk for a while.
I think Amazon does use the drones, but I think it's only in certain cities,
Right.
such as like
I
New
would,
York and stuff.
yeah, I would assume it would be in a more metropolitan place where people are very condensed versus
Yeah.
like here in North Carolina where you could be 3 miles from the nearest store, 4 miles, 15 miles, could
Hmm.
be farther away than the actual drone could carry. Um, but at some point, that kind of technology will probably advance. The lithium ion batteries that we use now will probably change in some manner. We'll get some kind of a better battery, like, I don't know, magnesium or something. I don't know exactly. But eventually, those batteries will last a long time. And the propellers and the flight mechanics on a drone may improve to the point where people who do live 15 miles away could get a drone to drop their Walmart groceries, a
Hmm.
good 30, 40 pounds of groceries may be possible to carry.
Well, yeah, and then you got to think about it like that. Like if that technology, or no, well, I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when
Yeah,
that technology does come to fruition. These people who live off the grid, quote unquote, um, you know, they could get supplies that way,
yeah, absolutely.
and
People
instead of
who
having to
live
take
further
a half
away.
day to go into town. Yeah.
Yeah, because I lived in and Ted, you know this, of course. I
Mm.
lived up in a small town in Colorado, up in the mountains. That was called Walden, and the nearest bigger town was Laramie, Wyoming. And it took about an hour without snow to get down to Laramie, and that's where like the nearest Walmart was and stuff like that. Now Walden had a grocery store, but obviously for supply reasons, the grocery store was more expensive than if you went to Walmart. So most people made a trip down to Walmart once a week, once a month, you know, something along those lines. But yeah, that could really change the game of those kinds of cities, especially if like the highway is shut down because of snow, which
Mm.
absolutely happens up in those regions.
Yeah.
And they could get their groceries delivered or get some kind of a supply delivered just enough to last them to get through a snow. Or, you
Yeah.
know, even if we talked about pharmacies, that town didn't have a pharmacy. You had to go to Steamboat, which is I believe it was like 35, 40 minutes away to go to a pharmacy to get medications and whatnot. So even just having like a CVS that could be able to deliver somebody's medication to them instead of like, I mean, what if an old person had to try and get out and go get their Coumadin or something along those lines that they couldn't get in this horrible snow drift? There's 6 feet of snow and it's blocking the highway. It sounds like phenomenal in my mind, but obviously that kind of technology would come with a price in the beginning. Eventually, it would just become natural, but I think at some point it probably will happen. Now, not maybe not necessarily CVS, but I think if anybody did it, would probably be CVS. The kind of the strides that they're taking in healthcare, they're doing a lot.
think I think no matter which way you look at it, the world of tech that we are currently living in is about to make a massive shift. into a direction that, depending on how it's executed, could be a good thing, or it could, definitely be a negative thing. Because I mean, if these fast food companies start generating, revenue from selling tech, what else are they going to dip their hands into? You know,
Yeah,
like what
Wendy for
else
governor.
are right? What else are some of these companies going to be dipping their hands into once they figure out, hey, we don't have to stick to fast food and make a profit? Like, and I think that in a lot of
McDonald's
situations,
Pharmaceuticals.
right? I think that in a lot of situations, it's one of these things to where everybody likes to treat this like a joke, and it is. It's funny, but that's the thing that can make it dangerous.
No,
Like
absolutely.
something being funny, something being interesting, new, there's a point in which things go too far, and that, hey, this is funny, turns into, whoa, this company just got a lot of power,
Mhm.
you know?
No, and I don't disagree with that in any capacity. You're absolutely correct. That is, we have a good chance. Now, I'm hoping we all know that Elon Musk is working his way to Mars. I have the hope that once that happens, because again, we've talked about, being an if or a when, but this is not an if, this is a definite when. When that happens, hopefully, and this is just my personal prayer here, I really hope that some of these tech companies will shift their focus and start trying to figure out, okay, so we made it. We made it to Mars. How do we get them back safely? How do we get there quicker? And what can we do to increase loads and increase, productivity on the surface of Mars so that way we can have a full colony instead of just the select few engineers and scientists and the people who will end up having to go first to lay down the foundation. That's what
You know how
I
to do that?
hope that these companies will change their focus.
You know how you accomplish that? You give them a KFC
That's just
console.
Okay, there it is. Granted, maybe, but I don't know. I do hope that some of like the tech and as a nation alone, I hope that our focus changes drastically the day, for one, the day they launch, and then God willing and the creek don't rise, the day they land. Again, Elon Musk has said it a thousand times. He's pretty sure they can land. He knows we can make it. He's pretty sure we can land. He's not sure we can come back, you know. But I'm hoping that when that all happens, people stop thinking about what the newest dance trend is and we start thinking closer to, all right, how can we go further? How can we progress and become better?
yeah. But I think at some point what we're starting to see with these companies branching out into different technologies was bound to happen, because this is capitalism at its finest. Somebody finds a way to make a profit, they're going to pursue it.
Yeah.
I think I just wonder what that road leads to, how many ways these companies can find to make a profit. And honestly, technically, it's against the law to own a monopoly, right? It's against the law to own
Yeah.
a monopoly, technically. But Amazon
AT&T
is a
almost hit
monopoly,
that. No. Kind
right?
of.
You, I
They're
mean,
not
you can't say it's not.
they're not well, so they're technically not because they're not the only e-commerce company on the internet, which is how they
No,
get through not being considered a monopoly because I
right.
mean
It's on a
eBay and
technicality.
right.
I mean, they blow the competition out of the water. It's on a technicality. So if they can do that on a technicality, where does this lead? You know what I mean? Like, what company is going to find the most ways to make profit first, followed by, whatever other company comes next? But whoever does it first or just does it the best is going to do exactly
Yeah.
what Amazon did, blow all the other competition out of the water. And I mean, this is a bit of an extreme idea, but before too long, maybe Microsoft gets put out of business by McDonald's, Like it's possible.
Well, I don't disagree. I think Microsoft has been in the game too long to be put out by
Right.
somebody like McDonald's,
I don't
only
think it's
because,
likely. I'm just
right,
example.
Mi- Microsoft is they're such a heavy hitter in the PC world.
Yeah,
Everything,
absolutely.
e- even people who use Macs, realistically speaking, Macs are good for certain things. They're good for more productivity related things. But when it comes to a PC, it's got an unbeatable upgradability and personability versus a Mac. Now,
Yeah.
granted, if McDonald's created some kind of a computer, they would still have to run it off of one of those existing platforms unless they created their own Linux-based platform, which is possible, but even now, there's not enough people who use something like Ubuntu or Red Hat or any of those so there's
Well, I
not a
mean,
lot of
you say that,
adaptability.
but look at the way Microsoft is taking their company. They're charging hundreds of dollars now to update Windows. You know,
Yeah.
who knows? The next competitor comes along and say, "Hey, you don't have to pay a couple $100 for a Windows update." How many people are going to go, "Oh, hey, cool, let me switch"?
Well, you already
You
don't
know,
have to if you use something like Ubuntu, which is not a hard program to navigate and use. I mean, of course, anything Linux based is going to be very command prompt based.
but I
Um,
mean, your average person doesn't know what Ubuntu is.
no,
You know
absolutely
what I mean?
not. But the skin on Ubuntu, if people knew more about it, the actual skin on Ubuntu is not hard to navigate. It's very reminiscent of a Windows computer, you know,
Right.
and it's
I mean,
free. It's
my
absolutely
point
free.
being, my point being, you know, take that strategy, that simple, Ubuntu style strategy, add McDonald's marketing to it. Now you have a solid competitor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So now I don't think McDonald's is going to put Microsoft out of business. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just using an
right.
example.
Yeah,
But
no, as an example, but when you said that, I had to go into, obviously, I had to think about it for a second. Is it possible? But even Macintosh, which is now Apple, couldn't put Microsoft out of business.
no,
And,
no, I
and
don't think so.
realistically speaking, argue whichever way you want. None of us are going to argue against this. Apple still can't touch Microsoft when it comes to
No,
PCs. They can't.
not even close.
Does
Well, unless you're looking something for something specifically production related.
Yes, absolutely, but you can still get the same performance and same productivity out of a PC that you can out of a Mac. I mean,
Absolutely.
really, you can always hot swap and not hot swap, but you can always change and swap components to get the same performance and the same productivity level. But it just depends on, do you want to pay for the Apple name or do you want to pay for the components and build it yourself or have it built? I have always said, and you guys could agree with this, I have always said, if you ever want to buy a computer that is so good that you don't have to worry about it, you want to look for something that says gaming when it comes to computers. Because if it can push a game, it can push any regular Joe Schmoes anything that they want to do perfectly.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
told everybody, anybody who's like, well, what kind of computer should I get? Look for something that says gaming. Because
Yep.
if it's made to play a game and run a game well, then it's good enough to run whatever you're going to want to do on Google or your email or even basic computing of whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But
I think it's a really interesting conversation where tech's going. I really do. Um,
yeah, I'm
I'm
interested to see. It's going to be an interesting next few years. That's to say the least.
Yeah, I'm both excited to see what happens from this, and I'm also kind of terrified because this could go two different directions very quickly, depending on,
Yeah,
what comes next.
yeah, and I I just pray that we can start to advance more away from just like you said earlier, leisure and calm or leisurable
Convenience. Yeah.
accessibility and move more into learning and progressing. That's what I hope we can start to do more of as time does go on.
And I mean, the way you do that, the way you change the direction of innovation from sedentary lifestyle innovation to business innovation or space innovation or whatever have you change the mindset of people, you know, because people it's capitalism. People are
Oh
going to
yeah.
put on the market what other people want to buy. If people want to buy stuff related to their business, you're going to see more stuff related to businesses on the market. If people want to buy more things related to sitting on your couch and watching TV, then that's what you're going to see the market flooded with, and that's where all the innovation is going to go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What we have about 5 more minutes till we hit an hour. Um, really, I think this has been phenomenal. When we first brought up this topic, I wasn't 100% sure how it was going to go. You know, talking about the KFC console, obviously I knew that whatever we talk about is always going to expand and grow into a wider conversation than just our original topic. That's kind of how our conversations always go.
Mm.
Um, but I think this was a great conversation. I'm glad we thought to talk about this and kind of our thoughts on what could be happening with tech and where it could be going. And honestly, I don't even think this conversation is over, in my
Oh, it's
personal
not.
opinion. I
There's going to
think,
be a part two to this for sure.
yeah, and it may not even be a part two with the KFC console, but tech in general and our thoughts on where it could be and what we could do better, worse, and the future of it definitely is going to be coming possibly this week. Because you know we normally are going to try and do 2 podcasts a week, and then I do have some ideas for some just normal gaming videos. I just haven't had a chance to put them out. I haven't been feeling well the last few days, but I do plan on getting out a video. I thought about playing maybe my summer car, or maybe just doing some relaxed power washing simulator, kind of what you see going on behind us while we're chatting here. Maybe playing a little bit of that and going through the story with Ted and just kind of chatting while we play that. But we do have some great things coming up that we want to do, and as we discussed in the last video, we have a lot of projects that we're hoping to bring into fruition and put on the channel soon.
Yep.
Um, Ted, is there anything else you want to chat about or throw in before we get out of here?
Not really. I think we covered just about everything that we can cover right now. Definitely a part two or a continuation whenever something big in the tech world happens. I definitely can see that happening.
Oh yeah, once the Intel Arc cards come out, I definitely plan on putting that into a podcast and kind of chatting with you guys and getting your thoughts because that's going to be if it's what they say. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but it's possible that we could get a 3080 or 3070 powerful, a card that's as powerful as a 3080 or a 3070 for what was the price, Ted? Like I think it was 200 bucks, 150, 200
Roughly.
bucks. I can't remember the exact price that we looked up, but it was minuscule in comparison to the current GPUs. So if that's the case, I definitely want to when those come out and we get more information about those, I definitely want to look deeper into that. But
Absolutely.
we are coming up on an hour. I want to thank everybody who does watch this video in the future, and please look forward to our upcoming videos. I know, like I said, we're going to have some actual gameplay videos and obviously more podcasts twice a week. Um,
And let us know in the comments if you like the length of these podcasts, or maybe you want them to run a little longer or shorter.
yeah,
Let us know because
yeah,
we
we
can
don't
definitely make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not stuck at an hour. We just figured an hour is a good enough time that we can let it go. But we're not against adding another 30 minutes or whatever to them. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody who did take the time to watch the last video. I guess technically the first video on the new channel. It's podcast Thursday. It's titled The New Channel, where we just kind of had a few of the guys and we discussed our thoughts and where we wanted things to go, and we just played some Phasmophobia and had a good time.
Yep.
But with that being said, thanks everybody who is watching this, and we really appreciate your support and the time you're taking out of your day to watch our videos. Um, Truly, even if nobody does watch these, we have a blast doing them and want to
Yep.
continue doing them, and we hope that we bring the kind of quality content that you want to see and continue to do so.
Yep.
So, anybody got any closing remarks?
Um, no, I think I'm good. Ted?
I'm good.
Copy that. Well, Ditch Crew, it's been great chatting tonight. We'll see you guys again on Thursday. Have a good one.